All right. So basically, the overview or what the purpose of our project is. The purpose of our project is to help identify weaknesses on your internet connection or machine through the use of scanning ports on your machine in order to determine vulnerabilities that may be present on the system. This data can then be used in order to close unnecessary ports that are open on the system, along with identify recent CVEs or which are exploits that have been found and put in a database online. These exploits can then be identified, and then you can use the data that our program produces to in turn then help patch your system and make sure it is secure.
So during this project, we definitely ran into a whole lot of challenges. Majority of the problems that we ran into while we were writing our code came from a single program called Metasploit, which is what we were using in order to be able to specifically find the individual weaknesses in the networks. Um, the some of the problems that we had were involved just a general lack of the code working on Windows Defender, all sorts of issues, and also just a general Metasploit that I talked about before. And this is a piece of software that has little to no documentation, or at least it has good documentation, but for everything that we don't need, and for everything that we do need, it has nothing. So there was a command that we had to use, which is right here, but it didn't have any actual, it didn't actually explain how the syntax worked. So we kept getting errors upon errors upon errors, and we had no clue what to do because there was nowhere to look online because there wasn't anybody actually, like, even though there were people that used this program, nobody actually ever used this command. So eventually, when we finally figured out how to format our code so that it actually was successful, I was ecstatic, and so was Kyle. There are a couple ways that we could expand upon our idea. First off, here you have all sorts of different ports that are open and are exposed to the outside world. That being said, just because the port's open doesn't mean that it is necessarily bad. For example, port 443. This is just a standard open port that every computer needs to be able to communicate with the internet, and so having that open is completely reasonable and completely safe. And if you were to then go in and try to disable that and close that port, it would be very, very bad for you. That being said, there's also port 9009. This is not a port that you really ever want open. There's no reason for it to be there, and it's literally just exposing you to the outside world. Um, so because of all of these different cases and exceptions, we could go and we could try to help categorize different ports and whether or not they should be open or not. And then we could create an interface that would then be able to help the user decide what they need to do and if their computer and their data might be in danger.